Hello, my name's James. I'm a portrait photographer from Portsmouth in the UK, and I welcome you to this, a portfolio review. It's an opportunity for you to get your portfolio sent through to me here so that we can have a look at your images, have a review of them, have a little critique of them, look at what's great about them, look at what can be improved, and see if we can help take your photography to the next level. The images this week have been supplied by Max Stranger. He sent us 12 images from a single wrestling show, all shot on a Nikon D780 with a 24-120 f4 lens. He describes the lighting at this show as, and I quote, horrendous. We're going to have a look at the images now, see how horrendous that lighting is, and see how well he has adapted to that to make striking images. I haven't had a look at these images. I wanted to bring them up one at a time so that you can get my initial gut reaction to this work. If you do want your own portfolio review, details are below and also will come up at the end of the video. All it takes is a little email, but without further ado, we're just going to have a look at these 12 images and see what we can have a look at. This first one here, great timing on this one. Like, look at the timing on the point of this flip coming off the top rope. That's pretty near perfect there. The feet just going in to shadow there, and I can see what we mean by challenging lighting is what I would call it. It looks like all of the lighting is to the left-hand side of the image as we look at it. But it does mean that those subjects are isolated away from the background. It's given us a very moody feel to these shots, and sometimes single light or single light source setups can give us more drama, more contrast, and really feed our eye into the shot here. If we bring down a guideline here, we can see here that this ring rope not quite on the straight there. It's just sort of moving just slightly off the straight, so maybe a slight turn afterwards here. And we potentially need to have a look at the shutter speed. These a couple of things on the lighting here. These little marks here, these little lens flares, are possibly being caused by specular dust particles, either on your lens front or on the lens itself. Lens filter, like a skylight filter or a UV filter if you're using one of those. But the lines there are being caused by potential LED light coming into the frame, and what that LED light is doing is it's pulsing light at a certain output that the shutter speed is sort of going too far faster than. So as the shutter comes up, it's taking different layers of exposure as that shutter goes up, as the light sort of emits from those light sources, and just trying to get your shutter speed to marry up a little bit more keenly might eliminate those. It's a really tricky thing to deal with, especially at arenas that used mixed light sources. But experimenting and having a look at your shutter speeds whilst also trying to keep it above 1/500th of a second is the way to move forward with there. But again, a very tricky skill. But I love the expression here. Love the timing that you've got on there. Exhibited great timing on this move and a good position as well. The low angle here working really well to isolate our subject there and to get him on that point of the flip going over. Yep, certainly tells the story of that move, certainly tells the story of that match, and the story of the characters in the match as well. Simple shot here. I love simple things done well in photography. So the low composition in this piece, rising us up to that dark area above, is really good, because that's where the sophist at the bottom of the image here is sort of leading our line through the shoulder and all the way to the top fist there, with the elevated profile face there underneath the mask working really well. Mask is blue in color, marrying up well with the wrist tape and the trunks that the performers put on there, and there's certain little bits of blue light in the backdrop. This one here, particularly bright, could be done with being toned down a little, or even we could go super extreme on this one. Take it out altogether and use your content aware fill or your generative fill in your Photoshop just to crop out and just give us an even more space around the whole subject here. Would give us a much more dynamic crop and composition to this image. Some of the skin tones here are just starting to bleed into white. That suggests there's just a tiny little bit of overexposure there. could well be brought back in if you're shooting on RAW by bringing in those highlight areas, but maybe a bit of a keener control of the exposure as we're shooting live there to keep all of those skin tones in there and really sort of work into that grimy feel of the single light darkened arena. Here we go, Darby Allin, a well-known sort of a very recognisable face, I guess, within pro wrestling there, with the face paint as we go in. We can have a look there, and a good expression from Darby on there. Again, if we bring in our we'll just bring in our guidelines here, we can see that this is just slightly on the angle there. I don't mind that at all. Like I said, generally my general rule on this is, like, if you're going for a Dutch angle, go for a Dutch angle, go for a big 45. If not, then just try and keep everything straight, and maybe a tiny little bit of attention to detail. Just lose this fan in the background. It's just slightly distracting, and having the guys isolated there. But what I really like about it, firstly, is the choice of the wide angle lens, which means that foot at the bottom of the shot there is sort of like really coming out towards us, makes us feel like we're really in there. And I actually admire the crop. Normally, if we're just cropping through a little bit of head or a little bit of that, then that can be a little bit distracting. But I actually feel it gives it a bit more intensity, especially with the size of the guy delivering this onslaught there towards Darby. So a keen use of black and white as well works really well with Darby, with the black and white face paint there. Good choice to do that. Gives us a nice timeless feel to the whole picture there. So just keep working with this, and maybe there may well be a moment just before or just after, not sure about whether we would have missed the expression, but something there that gives us a little bit of contact and a little bit more story from the guy on the left, so it's a bit of a two-way thing rather than just this we're really drawn into the center of the image here with Darby and his expression there. That's it, Sammy Guevara there with a point out towards the ring here. Good use of leading lines from the left-hand side to the right. Now, ordinarily, I would say that this hand here from the referee is slightly distracting, but I actually really like it. I think it gives us a foreground moving into the midground, and then the background there being darkness behind in this dark arena where we can't really see anything going on. Potentially, there's a shot there without the referee's hand in if we just crop it in, but I think that helps add context and helps us feel voyeuristic, helps us feel like we're part of the action there. These two little white spots just up here, maybe lose those and just really get them differentiated from the background there, really drawing just our eye into Sammy there. But as we see here, if we draw a line across here, we can see that Sammy's right in the middle of the frame here, and with all of these leading lines coming in from the left hand side and coming in from the right side, maybe a composition that works a bit more keenly on the rule of thirds might give us a slightly more dynamic composition to that shot. But a good timing on that one again, showing off the timing, and I'm sure he'll appreciate the lighting there because it's making those backs and those arms look like the hours in the gym are really coming out in the definition there. Great timing on the flip here. I mean, I'm guessing this is badass Billy Gunn there taking this one here, and yeah, great timing there on the flip and a good use of composition. So there's a couple of things going on that's been really well handled here. The background lighting there of the blues and the oranges gives us a nice complementary hue throughout the image. Good sharpness on the image there, good timing, good use of shutter speed. We've obviously had to go for quite a higher shutter speed. We can feel the grain in the image there because of that to compensate, but I kind of like that. We can't see the face of the guy giving the move, and that, I actually really like that. I think that helps the mood of the picture. Good symmetrical composition there, so just even sides left and right there. Good expression there. So where in the first image, if we actually go back and have a look at the first image, let's have a look at that there. The guy taking the move, just laying there. No expression, no two-way communication in that photo. We go to this one and look at the expression coming out there. That really helps your shot. Again, lose some of these distracting elements left and right, and maybe even make it even wider to include, this light in here, and just to include a bit more detail. Give that lens a little clean so that these little white spots here, aren't so apparent. But yeah, great move, great timing, good symmetry. It's naturally going to draw our eye beautifully into the middle of the picture there. Good timing on this one with the flip, and normally, I mean, immediately I would say this referee here, it's really abstract the way that he's placed behind. It's just a little bit too distracting there, particularly with the lightness of the arms coming out. It's a shame that he's there, but obviously we can't move referees mid-match. There's potentially some Photoshop work there that can happen, but the only reason why I mention it is because I actually am really enjoying the voyeuristic nature of the photographers adding narrative to being in the background there. So the filmmakers and the other photographers there make this look like a move that was photograph worthy, a move that was worth capturing. It's almost a study of them as much as it is a study of the move as it's happening. As it happens, as a photographer, you've got the best angle on this because you've got the angle of the face. Lovely triangle from the guy giving the flip there at the top there. Really, really lovely angle and a good look from him. And just a nice warm feel to the skin tones in the picture. They're quite pleasing. Just a shame about that distracting element of the referee in the background. But other than that, liking there's a tiny little detail here where we've got the little ring rope up the top here, which really makes us as a viewer feel like we're in the action there. We're part of that show. And this is lovely again. So, I mean, good expression from the guy in the background. Again, maybe would have just lost this guy just between his legs to really isolate him around. But it's all about the connection here, isn't it? And the connection of us looking into the camera and our choice to have the focus on the guy in the foreground. And quite often the very best performers will notice that you're in that ring corner, you're underneath those ring ropes, and they will show out to you and they'll give you expression. And that's exactly what's happened here. The contrast isn't quite married up, so we've got much lighter contrast in the background here than we have in the foreground. I'd maybe just bring in that contrast, bring in those darker tones, those darker elements, heighten those lighter elements as well to really draw our eye into the picture. Give us a little bit more space here on the left hand side where the hands just cropped off. Want to use a bit more of that ring rope just coming into the picture there. Just maybe lose a little bit off the top of that crop as well, just to make that top a little bit keener. But other than that, good shot, good connection with the viewer, enjoying that one a lot. I'm guessing this is from the same match here, and again the timing is what's all important here, the timing on the move and the fact that we've got that kick. We can't see the connection, but we can see that it has connected because we can see the reaction and the emotion and the facial expression of the guy taking the move in the foreground. A couple of distracting elements in the background again, and an unfortunate referee placement where he looks like he's part of the body of the guy delivering the kick. I love the texture of the canvas in the foreground, so maybe again this one could be a little bit more bottom heavy because at the moment everything's working very centrally. We've placed them both in the center, not only from the horizontal axis, but we've also placed them in the center from the vertical axis, and maybe working with that rule of thirds to make more of the texture of this canvas, bring that top down just a little bit, would maybe just give us a slightly keener approach there. And if you have the ability, because I know you have a 24:120, these action moves, when they're caught, if you can get it in frame when we're zoomed in, you're going to get even more expression and an even keener sort of study of the guys there as they deliver the move and just really looking at those facial expressions. But a great shot here, good connection. The guys in the ring are going to love it. So the great thing about this suplex here, I'm going to go straight to it because I work with wrestlers a lot, and I'll tell you, I know exactly what they'll go to. Look at those toes, right on the tiptoes. So all of that weight being balanced on those tiptoes there. It's just a picture perfect suplex. And we've done well here because the face, he's managed to keep it on this left hand side as we look at it so that you can see the facial expression as we're going through. Shame that the arms are up by the side of the face there so that we can't see the face there, but that's okay because it's drawing our attention to the guy delivering in the move. And again, I just think there's scope here. I don't mind the elements of the background of the photographers taking the shot because they all look interested. They all look like they're wanting to get the shot that you're getting as well. But I just think with these leading lines of these shadows on the mat and the texture of the mat, there may be a slightly different composition there to give us a slightly keener, more dynamic composition in there. But good timing, good freezing of the action on that one, good expression all the way through. So here we are with the chair, and it feels like a photograph in sort of three stages here. The wrestler here with the chair, and I guess working out in his head deciding whether he's going to use it or not. The ring in context on the right hand side giving us those leading lines, the flag and everything going on there, and then the audience on the left hand side here. We can just see a little smattering of the audience. They're not sort of fully engaged, which is a shame here. I feel that this shot here is a much closer crop. I think all of the interesting elements are happening with the relationship of the wrestler and the chair. So I can't help but feel that that's where it should be. But we're giving ourselves, indication here as to what challenging lighting conditions you are working with in there. I just can't help but feel that there are distracting elements around, and it would be a much more simplified approach if we maybe hey, let's try and get even lower on this one. Let's try and get down really, really low and take the shot from the perspective of that chair, sort of low down, so that we can see even more of that face looking down towards us and get even more expression out of it from there. So this is great. This is like a double connection here. Not only have you got the connection of the foot on the chair, but you've also got the connection of the chair on the head, which is great, which is key. Referees down in the far corner as well, which for wrestling fans will know that gives context to it, is that we can use the illegal object because the referee is down and he's not watching all of the illegal moves that are happening in the match. Good color temperature. Then we just started to lose a little bit of detail on the back here, where it's closest to the light and where we're shining the light in that way, so we're just losing a little bit of highlight in there. And again, maybe looking at a closer crop and just seeing if we can get this action from a slightly more abstract point of view. But again, working with these lights, and you're only going to be able to get gritty, contrasty shots. It's a good effort to get that, and ultimately the timing really, really well handled on that shot. Yeah, getting the pinfall. So really, as a guide to, we'll talk to you here on this one, as a guide to wrestling photography. Really, when you shoot in ringside, wrestlers want entrances. Wrestlers want shots of them looking cool at the beginning before they've even struck a move as the announcements are being made. And then wrestlers really, really want the pinfall and the ups at the end. So the raising of the belt or the raising of the hand by the referee. And then everything else is kind of like up for grabs, really. So it's up to you to get what you want from there. In this instance, we've got that pinfall at the end, which I was alluding to. There should be a moment either side of this, either the first go for the pinfall with the expression of the guy trying to get it, or the kick out, or the 1, 2, 3, ding, ding, ding. And I can't help but feel we're just a little bit either side of those points on this one. The slight angle as well just makes it feel just a little bit off kilter, and we've just got that little bit of a context. We tried to keep the whole foot in here on the left hand side, but what it's done is it's allowed us just to have this little bit of videographer. I can't help but feel just maybe a slightly closer crop on that. And just sometimes it's the moments after the moments, or the moments just before the moments, that are the ones that are most captivating, and they're the ones that we want to really, really try and capture. And then last shot here, this is great. This is one of my favourite shots from the portfolio here. We've seen, if we look at the legs here, we can see the sort of lines just going up, and I don't think that's pattern in the suit, because I can see some lines on the leg here. So unfortunately, some of the LED lighting hasn't quite married up with the shutter speed there, but it's a very minor detail because I love everything else about it. I love the black and white conversion. I love the fact that the wrestler is the brightest point of the image, so our eye goes straight to him. I love the composition. There's some elements of thirds. There's some negative space there on the left hand side here. There's a use of thirds here where we're sort of like working with the manager or the ring announcer on the third over here. And I've loved these 4 guys taking the film and taking the shots. They look engaged, they look part of it. I love the fact that we've chosen to crop through the hands here. We know that there's a camera in there, but what it does is it elevates the superstar in the middle of the picture, elevates him to the point where he looks like he's the superstar and he's the one that all of the eyes are focused on. And it's just a really, really good capture there that really elevates that performer to another level. And it's a lovely one to finish this portfolio review on. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you so much to Max for sending us your work. I hope you found some of that feedback helpful. As you said, well, not as you said, but as I would say, challenging lighting conditions, but look for opportunities within that, and now look to develop your style. And within that arena, I just feel that there's a real chance to get these gritty, dynamic shots and make that arena feel like a fight club. Give it that sort of fight club feel and take it to the next level. But it looks like we've got all of the fundamentals in there, and just working with that, we should continue to develop that style and continue to take great images, provided we continue to love what we're doing. If you'd like a portfolio review, you can get one. Email me at my secret email address, portraitofawrestler@gmail.com. You can have a look at some of the tutorials up on this page and have a look at the playlist of other portfolio reviews we've done in the past from photographers from all around the world of all different genres as well. We've also looked at some high-end photography work from other photographers who've showcased their best images with us and told us how they created those works. Have a look through the library there. Subscribe, like, say nice things, and recommend it to all your photographer friends, and maybe some friends within wrestling, or just people who like looking at the creative process. And as ever, all the very best.